Good morning. This is the eighth day of February in Board of Commissioners. I'm Darrell Banks, fellow commissioners, Tony Vero, Cliff Mears, Stacy Crawl, our clerk, and Andrew Keller, our administrator. We are joined by our new building director's director, Steve Risser, and our county engineer, Adam Gove. Carl Connell was here. I don't know what happened.
Hiding.
Oh, I see you.
He needs to take a picture of Mr. Risser in his worst facial pose so he can put it on the source as he always does for his pictures. So
And Al Lawrence with the news journal is here. So, Mr. Risser, you're going to give us an update on the building department.
Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you. Yes. I just wanted to come down. It's 2 weeks as of today that I've been back with the county. I certainly appreciate the commute to Longview Avenue versus Reynoldsburg. But again, thank you for the opportunity to come back and work back here with everyone. It's been a great 2 weeks so far. Just been working generally on plan review. Plan review's kind of been the hot topic. Getting caught up on plan reviews. As of this morning, we've got one set of plans left that's sitting on the shelf. That's a new submission to review. So that was kind of the first push. We had a little bit of a backlog, nothing dire, but just get caught up and get a little breathing room with plan review. So just general summary of what's been going on out there. Employees have been great. Everybody's been real cooperative, real helpful. I've met with Soil and Water and the Health Department, just working on some outreach, some coordination, some communications, just, reestablishing, reaffirming, lines of communication, coordination, policies, procedures. Looking forward, I still want to continue that. I had a chat with Amanda Miller out at Wastewater. Once she was off a little bit last week, and once she gets kind of settled, we'll go out and have a sit down and a chat and just again, work on some of the coordination and how we're working together and if there's things that we can improve. I'm going to start reaching out to some of the local zoning inspectors. Some of them I've talked to just briefly, again, updating contact information and, some newer ones, just put faces with names. We'll start reaching out with Crawford County as well, which is our contracted jurisdiction. Bring those guys up to speed, talk with them about where things are at, any needs, any concerns that they have. I attended the Richland Community Development Group meeting with Commissioner Mears 2 weeks ago, Friday. Getting coordinated with that group, getting brought up to speed. One of the big pushes is a customer service survey that the group was working on before. It sounds like they're going to be asking for some dollars from a lot of the agencies and partners down there. We should have money in the budget. We may need to move it around. I don't know if there'd be a contract services item.
don't, Steve, as we talked, anytime a new director comes in, they may have certain visions and have additional requests. So just Cliff, because he's the liaison, and be happy to
Okay.
go that.
I took a look at where we're at budget wise now, just getting in. Obviously, we've got some different counties, or we've got fewer counties this year to look at, and I'm trying to take a look at revenue. We don't have a strong picture of revenue right now from just a month, but we'll keep a close watch on that to see where things go. With that, from a budgetary standpoint, again, nothing dire jumps out, nothing's on fire, nothing got overlooked. We're going to request some new monitors that we can pay for out of the capital purchase fund as we're starting to concentrate some more on electronic plan reviews. Our counter PC that runs the accounting is a little dated, had some issues with that. I've got a message into IT to work on that. One of the infrequent expenses we will have is we'll have some code books to purchase this year. We have a code update coming March 1st. A significant update to the Ohio Building Code, which is our commercial building code. It's a statewide code that's adopted by the Board of Building Standards. And some minor changes to the residential code that governs the residential construction. So we'll have some code books. We may need to move some money around to get those code book purchases accomplished. The state will give us at least one full set of paper code books. And they're also providing us with some electronic code books this year as well.
We can give some to Carl, we can quiz him on it too, on Ohio Building Code regulations.
That's tomorrow.
Be a quiz on that.
As long as we get to 149.43 immediately thereafter.
We're at a 307, so that's the board's ability, or that's the board's authority to adopt, so. But anyways, that's part of the reason that we pay the 1% and 3% assessments to the state as far as training, code book distribution, providing some resources back to the department, so it's not just it's an assessment, but a lot of people think of it as a tax. We do get some return back on that investment. There will be some training that's coming up probably sometime in March. We've already had 5 training sessions that have been provided free of charge. I took advantage of some of those when I was at the state. I've taken advantage of some of those here when I'm back at the county. The other county staff has taken advantage of those. Anywhere to 4 to 8 hours of continuing education update training. So no charge for that. Again, that's kind of one of the benefits or one of the returns of paying those assessments. So there is some tangible return on that we get back. Again, we'll get we'll get full sets of paper code, one full set of paper code books from the state that we'll use. And one thing new this year in this code update cycle is the state has bought premium subscriptions to the code library on the building code side for all the building departments. So that's about a $700 to $800 a year per person expense. And we'll have 2 subscriptions to that will be covered. Which really helps us more. We've been doing a lot more electronic reviews. It gives the inspectors access to those in the field on their tablets as opposed to carrying a library or milk crate of code books around. So you can help educate, customers in the field when you're on the job sites as well. So we'll have, again, from an expense standpoint, we'll have to buy some more books on top of what the state's providing us. So we've got copies for all the staff to work out of. Some of those will be shared copies because you don't use some every day, but we'll be diligent with our request and conscious of the budget. So only other 2 major budget items. We had money estimated for a vehicle purchase. We don't think we're going to need that this year, just based on mileage and where the other vehicles are at, maintenance and repair.
Well, we treat that like vacation, in the private sector, use it or lose it, so it comes back to the budget.
That's in our capital purchase line. That will roll with the department. And the other is we had advertised for a full-time clerk and we've budgeted for a full-time clerk. We're gonna see how things shake out with that before we move forward.
Considering part-time for a while, weren't you?
It was budgeted for full-time and it looks like we had both full-time and part-time considered. That's something I was going to discuss with yourself and also Kelly Ciccolotti more in depth. I don't know. I know we've been holding some resumes. My thought was, I don't want to lead people down the wrong road, but my thought was is to at least call them and say, hey, because some have been sitting there for a while. A, are you still interested? B, we're kind of reassessing if we need the position. Just to let people know that, hey, we just didn't ignore you.
Great.
I know some positions and in years past, you get hundreds of applications for a slot and it's hard to call everybody back. I think we can easily call these people back with the number that we've gotten, at least follow up to say, hey, we didn't forget you, but here's our side of the story.
Hear from other departments. you won't get hundreds.
Okay.
You'll be lucky.
That's not true. People will want to come and work for the county. They'll be beating down his door here. Now that Steve's back.
So anyways, we will follow, thank you. We will follow up with, we'll follow up with those applicants and I have an HR introduction or an new employee orientation with Kelly a week from today. So I'll go over that with her and see how we proceed on that. But that could be some, it's a small chunk of the budget, but
I know we talked about that when I came out there, but how are we doing on the soccer complex? That seems to be the major construction project right now.
we met with their design team on Monday. That's one of the things that we've been pushing, especially with a new code update coming. And also, again, trying to promote some of these preliminary review processes. They're still working through some life safety issues with automatic sprinkler protection. And because there's some exceptions for the type of building that they're going to construct. Just working through some life safety issues with them. They're still dialing in some of the use of the spaces between the main floor and the second floor, and how we look at that second floor, if it's a story or versus what we call a mezzanine. There's some different code requirements, how you approach that. Again, they're still kind of working things out on their end, but we would hope in the next week or so, we're gonna have a little bit more defined plan that we can give them some comment and give them some direction on.
Cool. Thank you.
So that's moving forward. They are going to submit prior to March 1st so they can keep it under the current code cycle. That we'll work with them on. Looking at the main life safety issues, and we already did look at the main life safety issues of what they're asking about. There's not much of a change from current code cycle to new, so I don't know if the March 1st is really going to benefit them or not, but we'll keep it under that and get that rolling. So hopefully when groundbreaking comes, they're good to go. So, so that was one of the other outreach topics I had here, and that's been the big one we met with. We've talked to them a couple of times, but we had a good meeting with them this past Monday. And moving forward on that. That's one that I'm going to push them to try and submit electronically. I don't think they have any issues with doing that electronically for us, but that's a big paper saver. That's a big time saver for us.
Probably saves them time too, right?
Save some printing costs. I know when we used to do it for the schools, a school and your average school would be 400 to 600 sheets of paper. And anywhere from, it used to be, we'd stamp 5 to 6 copies of drawings. Plus you were getting from out of town consultants. So, each set of drawings that arrive in its own separate box, plus specification manuals. Now it's getting all that stuff electronically. That's where the larger monitors will help us in the review, so we can see things a little bit more to scale. But I mean, the distribution to the customer's got to be phenomenal, because that's transportation to and from, plus all that printing cost that they're saving on. I mean, it's so.
What are the sheet sizes? The submittals when they're in paper.
On a large project like that, they're either a D size or an E size, which is 36 by 24 or 36 by 40.
Wow.
So that's just, I mean, it's a lot for us to store too, when we think about records retention. So that's one of the things that we're really going to try and push. And it's mainly geared towards the commercial projects, is to try and push the electronic submittals. It saves us storage, it saves us time, it saves customer time, ultimately money. I don't know that it saves us a whole lot of money other than just storage space, but so. Faster transit time too. I mean, you get, it's an email to download something off Google Drive versus waiting for a UPS pickup.
Right.
I don't know that shaves a lot of time off construction schedules, but again, it's it's the little things that add up.
Are we doing everything? Do you need anything from our office to facilitate or expedite electronic filing? Is there anything you feel we're missing to make that easier?
Not at the moment. That's one of the things I've got. I'm gonna schedule some time with Christian from the auditor's office. I know we've started with geo permits, that's through Schneider, to try and look at that. And see what other options. Right now, we only have a defined process for electrical services. We really need to expand that to all types of applications. But that's one of in the next couple of weeks is a good sit down with Christian to try and dial in where we're at.
Make sure if you have any needs, because we're very supportive of that. Anything we can do to make things easier for our residents and businesses, let us know.
We need to do some work on, because the rest of the submission process is fairly crude right now. It's still somewhat labor intensive for what it could be. But that's where we need to look and see what geo permits can really do for us to kind of streamline and automate some of that workflow. So
Can you provide a list of zoning inspectors? I had a phone call from a carpenter yesterday and he was in the wrong township and I got him to the right township. But I just thought, if they know, they could come out there and find out who the zoning inspector is and they're.
One minor issue with that is there's some turnover with zoning inspectors too, so the best is just to have the township contact and then they can direct, because there's some turnover in some of those spots.
regional planning actually does that. Now, we redistribute their list. We don't reproduce any of the workflow, but yeah, that's a frequent question through our office too, is with that. One of the other things, and that's a good question, as far as a list of, we used to have it at the city of Mansfield. We had a list of local architects and engineers. And the caveat for us is we're not allowed to recommend. There's some liability, there's some ethics, things like that, but how we worked it at Mansfield is we took a list of architects and engineers in Richland and surrounding counties that had submitted drawings for the past 2 years. And it was effectively a records request. And that's something that I'm gonna have a conversation with the prosecutor on. That's in one of my upcoming meetings. I'm gonna try and schedule some time with prosecutor. Just that's one of the topics as far as, are they comfortable with us? Because obviously if we get a complaint that we're ethics recommendation, whatever, they're the ones that will hopefully defend us. So I want to make sure they're on board with that. But taking that one step further, I'd like to get that list of architects and engineers, because we get a lot of people that say, who can I use? And it's difficult, for us to just you got to do a Google search. We don't really have the yellow pages anymore. How do you find somebody? So it's helpful for a list. That's on our radar.
Good.
As well. But so with that, just a couple other minor items. Looking, just kind of getting some forms, some policies, things updated for the code update. Nothing changing. It's not going to be a night and day like, hey, we've got to completely rethink the way we do things, anything like that. Just updating some code sections, getting our outreach documents and guides updated. Two of kind of the hot button topics that have surfaced in the last year for the department have been agricultural uses. There's some agricultural exemptions to the building code. Rightfully so. There's some people that kind of play one department off against another. It seems to be, that's the reason that we had the coordination meetings, to try and figure out, hey, how can we make sure we're all on the same page, we're all getting the same story. The other that's popping up are transient lodging structures, the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, similar things like that. It's a regulated process, and it's supposed to be regulated under the commercial. There are some exceptions that allow you to use the residential code as a standard. We're not going in making people put sprinkler systems, full fire alarm systems.
So I have a question on that. I want to be very delicate in asking it, because we certainly want people to have thriving businesses. But that's something that's come up in just this job and understanding thing from a zoning perspective, which isn't necessarily you, but you have some familiarity, but also from a code perspective. So let's say, we'll even take it outside of Richland County, but we know people have VRBOs, right? And some of those are in areas zoned residential in communities. So my first question is, what has been your experience in terms from a zoning perspective, although you're not, I mean, you work for, you do have some zoning experience. And then two, what is the bill, like, if you're hosting people that live in your home, are there any additional requirements with respect to building codes? Fire suppression, appropriate ingress and egress, and I've always wondered that, but I've always been delicate in answering the question because, you know, you want people to have successful businesses and it drives the economy. But it has been a concern of mine, because that came up when we met with Lee Tassif, if you guys recalled, on how to work with the lodging tax. And I know that some people, and I would be too, if I had a VRBO, or, and then we said, hey, look, the lodging tax should apply, because you had hotels saying, well, wait a minute, you know, we're paying a lodging tax.
Level playing field.
Right, so, and this is like not a big tax, I mean, we're, unless you're Mr. Gove, who wants us to raise a sales tax, that he said in a public meeting one time, which was fun, I'll never forget that, but, I won't forget, people don't forget. So I'm curious as to how that works. I mean, you have your zone residential and you're running in essence, a lodging facility in an area that's zone residential.
It's a really good question. Some zoning resolutions explicitly prohibit it or allow it as a conditionally permitted use. Some zoning resolutions are silent on the matter. And some zoning resolutions regulate it to some degree. From my time at the state, the Hocking Hills area and Logan County had a large influx of these transient lodging
Right.
structures. And the city of Logan really started to crack down. This is not by any means a knock on the city of Logan.
No, I mean, you gotta,
The kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Residential subdivision. You know. Not hundreds, but quite a healthy population of single family dwellings. Somebody was renting out a single family as an Airbnb, or shouldn't say Airbnb, but a transient lodging structure. Large party. I don't know how many people were crammed into this house. But you know, big party, they had a medical emergency. Fire department, in responding with a truck and a squad, got within a half mile of the house. They could not get any closer because the streets were jammed with cars. Very difficult from a rescue standpoint and a treatment standpoint. Luckily enough from and again, I got this like second or third hand as it was explained to us, so I don't have exact facts, but it was only a situation where somebody had to be taken out on a stretcher. If a fire would have had to have been dealt with, the loss potentially to life and property would have been a lot more significant.
and that's probably the rare exception, but once you, I mean, from a code perspective, once you open up whatever for, as you call, this is called transient lodging, are there additional codes that come into play?
There are, if it's a single family dwelling, the code requirements, because the commercial code, which regulates all your transient lodging is 30 days or less. Typically these structures are being rented for weekends, maybe a week. They're not long-term, which is a different set of if it's long-term, we really don't touch it. I mean, the code really doesn't touch it, other than a regular, like you would a regular house. Now, we don't get into the, you know, how many days, but on the transient lodging end of it, if it's a single family, it allows you to use the residential code as a standard. So you go in and you look for the basic life safety aspects that the residential code would provide, which is usually smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, egress windows in the bedrooms. If you've got more than 10 people on a second level, you typically have to have a second way out, which is like an exterior stairway. Most single-family dwellings typically only have one interior stairway from a second level.
Yeah, I wonder like our basements being rented, I mean, that's just, I've always wondered that, right? Our basements downstairs that may not have egress being used as bedrooms for VRBOs or Airbnbs, and I've always wondered that.
It's basic life safety principles is what you're looking for, and the requirement for fire extinguishers. There's not a requirement in the residential code for fire extinguishers, but where the commercial code allows you to use it, that's one of the caveats is that you've got fire extinguishers, which is typically a single 5-pound ABC fire extinguisher, which is not. We're not looking at sprinkler systems. We're not looking at full fire alarm systems. It's basic life safety principles. We've dealt with them quite a bit. I can tell you right now, the approach has been somewhat voluntary or complaint driven. We're not out there being the building police looking for this stuff. So, but it is a hot button topic. It's becoming more prevalent in society as a whole.
Well, Steve, we appreciate you coming down and telling us, going on with your department, and you laid out a lot of what you've got done and a lot more of what you're gonna get done. And, I'm sure there's a lot of subjects there that we'll be talking about in the future, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My intent is until I really get my feet planted and we get things situated, I'll have somewhat
Bless you.
updates for the board. And as always, I mean, I'm always available to chat and whatever, but I figured post an email. It's always nice to come face to face.
Glad you did.
So,
We
okay, thanks.
appreciate it.
Any other questions, issues?
I don't think you answered them all.
Not this time.
Steve, thank you so much for coming.
Adam, I'll leave the chair warm for.
We got questions from Carl first. His hand was up before I could see Al's.
Yes, sir.
I apologize for Mr. Bureau taking up nearly all the time. You're more and more used
I
to.
just ask good questions, Carl.
What prompted you to decide to come back out of the job with the state last year? What was the motivation to come back?
Look, the board approached me about coming back, and it was a really good opportunity to be closer to home, closer to my family. I don't have any complaints about the state whatsoever, but just from some of the demands of the job was rather time consuming. I was-
You in Reynoldsburg every day?
In Reynoldsburg, it's about an hour and 5 minutes down, an hour and 15 minutes. Plus Cincinnati, Toledo,
Now, I know you went to Ohio State. Where did you go to high school? Are you from around here originally?
I went to Lexington High School,
What year did you graduate?
1994.
You kind of grew up in the Lexington area.
I did.
Obviously, you work for the city. Can you kind of talk about the importance or describe the relationship between your department now and the city of Mansfield and their building department? What should that look like? How can the largest entities in the county work together?
We have some missions that are just a hair different. We both enforce the building codes. Both are certified departments in order to enforce the residential and the commercial codes. The local departments have to be certified. Basic administrative procedures, both follow the same building codes, staff certification, and continuing education requirements. So both accomplish that. The city has a little bit different mission because also in with their codes and permits office, which has been somewhat restructured in the last couple of years. They've combined with community development. They also handle the city's local housing code enforcement, which is different than building codes. From a high level standpoint, building is more so the act of construction, where housing is more so maintenance. So city obviously has their local ordinance enforcement. They have planning commission duties, which takes kind of takes the place of the township and the other municipalities that have zoning. So zoning and planning commission, and then some of the other utility coordination. A lot of the utility construction, street opening permits, right-of-way permits, things like that are handled through the city codes office, whereas other municipalities might handle, Shelby, Ontario, the villages, and Adams office in the unincorporated areas for the most part on the county roads. But the city actually has maybe just a touch more on their plate than we do at the county.
I know one of the, and this might not be germane to your new role, but probably a little over a year. Countywide housing study rolls out. One of the things that talked about it, additional housing. And one of the earliest things that I think they're still talking about is trying to seek uniformity in zoning code. Is your office touching any zoning code involved in any way in that process to try to make things easier for development to take place?
Couple of responses back. So directly, no, we do not touch zoning. We coordinate with them, but we don't actually enforce the zoning. That's the responsibility of the local jurisdictions that handle the zoning. As far as the development goes, we obviously want to coordinate and make the process as smooth as possible, help people follow the rules. And from a participation standpoint, that was very briefly discussed with the Richland Community Development Group. So I don't know to what involvement we will be involved, but we're hoping that whatever it is, it'll be collaborative.
Well, obviously there's the soccer complex that's taking place down in Belleville, but I know there's also been lots of discussions about building developments down in that area. What do you know about that? And is that area infrastructure wise ready for that kind of development to take place? And some of the things I've heard about in terms of single family homes, apartments, condos.
I've got to play the new guy card on that one. I don't know a whole lot other than what I've read. As far as infrastructure wise, obviously, I would think with knowing the county sewer that's down there. Belleville's got a fairly good water supply that was down there from working in that area in the past. I know it's ready. That's something that'll hopefully be on my radar when I sit down with Belleville's contacts as far as zoning to see what we can do to help them get ahead of the development curve on that too.
And Carl, the county is making a considerable investment in their sewer down there so that it will be ready.
Read about that.
I thought maybe you might.
That's all I.
Is it in the News Journal or what? Al, you got any questions? I got myself in trouble here. Al, help me out. Okay.
That screen didn't want to work. Yeah, I'll help you out. I'll help move the meeting along. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
One thing that's changed since last time you were at the building department is we have implemented a driveway permit. So any of your new residential construction,
Okay.
I got with Kara before she left, and I think it was listed on the website there, but we have an online event.
Okay.
You can help spread the word on that.
Sure. Sure. Gotcha. I will put that on that was good because I've got to follow up with soil and water too. We talked about some of the site plans that come in too. So now, okay, good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay.
Welcome back.
Adam is moving to the front. And Josh Hicks, our maintenance superintendent, has joined us. Adam, you got a whole bunch of things to go over here. Do it right when you're ready.
Well, I'll start. I'm not from Lexington, so I don't know that I'll get as warm a welcome from Commissioner Vero as Steve did.
Well, he didn't ask us to raise taxes.
And so we'll go back to those minutes and see, did I say that or did
And delete that's from the public.
I?
That would be a crime, sir.
I asked a
And
question.
expunge them after a while.
I think we'd have to read them to see what really was said.
Right. Did you have any particular order, Stacy? So, thank you. I guess first thing up is asking for authorization to advertise for bids for the Champion Road Bridge Replacement Project. This is a design build project, which is new to us. So this will be for design surface services as well as construction services. Looking to advertise on, where's that at? February 27th with a bid opening of April 11th. Our current engineer's estimate for the project is $600,000 even. And this is covered with the design and construction is covered 100% with a federal grant from County Engineers Association that's administered by ODOT. And local funds will pay for the construction inspection services.
And it's to be completed for November the 1st of 2025.
Correct. Yeah, since this is a design build project, they will have some initial time in the design. We have very preliminary set of a layout of a bridge that they will use, but they have to come up with the details of the bridge structure itself. Have some time in design, and then that's why we don't expect construction to start until next year.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve the advertisement for the bid for the Champion Road Bridge replacement?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
All right, second on the list is an authorization to enter into agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for a sign upgrade project. I made mention of this project when we were working on the budget. So we were awarded a grant to from the federal government, again, the CEAO, County Engineers Association. This grant is administered by ODOT. And it will pay 80% of the costs of signs and posts, up to $40,000. The remaining 20% will come from our funds for roads and bridges. And this is going to cover approximately 450 signs and associated posts. We have to, as part of this agreement, we have to install the signs with our county crews.
These are just for school and school bus.
There's school bus, and then we are also targeting a lot of our stop ahead signs, warning signs.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Vero,
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
All right, next up is authorization to enter into an agreement with ODOT. This is for a safety study at the intersection of Orchard Park Road and Middle Belleville Road. In a study that was put together by Regional Planning back in 2022. This intersection was identified number 2 in the county based on the ODOT severity scoring. We've had a number of accidents out there over the years, even though I believe in the early 2000s, there was an improvement project that took made some vertical adjustments to a hump that was out there that limited sight distance. But we're still seeing accidents occur out there. So this study is basically going to identify what the problem is and what are some possible solutions.
Possible solution be a roundabout.
That's always a possible solution.
I was talking to the K.E. McCartney guys and they have some big designs and there's a roundabout every 2 feet. And I said, what, like, do you guys get a special discount on roundabouts or what? I mean, they get giddy. All you engineers, look at him. He's smiling now. Look at him.
Because this is what we get. I understand that, but we have to look at all the options and see what.
Option 1 through 7 is roundabout.
So, the federal grant will cover 90% of the cost for that study up to $11,700. And, this gets us started and then we'll have to select a design or a consultant to do the study and
I'll make a motion to authorize the agreement with ODOT for the safety study.
Second.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Yes.
And lastly is another agreement with ODOT for a federal grant to study pavement marking inventory, inspection and centerline compliance. This is for Sharon Township. So last year, the trustees approached me as I am their engineering representative about they wanted to install centerline on some of their roads. Before you go out and do that, you really need to have compliance study done so you know where to place passing and no passing zones. So this is, we were able to apply on behalf of the township to CEAO. And they were awarded a grant. The county was awarded the grant since we're administering on behalf of the township. That grant will cover 90% of the costs up to $2,700. And that funding was based on the number of centerline miles that the township has to study. And the engineers funds will pay for the remaining 10%, which will ultimately be reimbursed from the township.
Authorize the agreement with ODOT for pavement marking compliance study.
Second.
Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Adam, before you leave, Josh, come up, talk about your quote for the work on his garage.
I don't want to be here for that. Thank you.
So down under other quote from why they're both here.
Well,
I'll let you start. since
Fed
you got the
Yarman
quote.
Construction came up to the county garage and gave a quote for replacing some of the upper the rest of the upper panels and putting in clear panels for lighting purposes. Replace some metal and some flashing.
This one right here?
No, the
Highway garage down
highway
on
garage.
Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, that's a really old building.
yeah,
It's a very old building.
405 feet on both sides.
So I don't know, I think all of you have been down to see that building at some point in time. Several years ago, we did an upgrade to the front of the building, which installed some. It's a 2-tiered roof system and there's what you'd call that between the two roofs, but there's we put windows in, which really helped with the lighting inside the building. The rest of the building is all old.
It's fiberglass
paneling.
panels and old metal panels.
Yeah, very dark. Doesn't let much light through. Some are in pretty bad shape.
They're linked too.
Yeah. So this, adding the clear panels will help with lighting in there and the overall appearance of the building.
And we did budget $50,000. This.
The quote came in at 55,237.
So I'm definitely up for covering the additional costs.
You lose under Price is Right rules. It was over.
That was Josh.
Just,
Here, they're in it together. I'm just saying.
I'll make a motion to accept the
Yes.
from Yarman Construction for the repairs on the engine.
Second.
Adam's gonna take care of the extra 5,000.
With the sales tax increase he wants.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Adam Russ.
Thank you.
Oh, Carl,
Oh, get ready.
Bridge out of
yes.
I just.
Oh, gosh. Look at him. He's still smiling. Look at him.
I don't know who did the Orchard Park west of that intersection years ago, but someone would have known the hills. And it's just one election since it was at the time, that was moved forever, but after some number of accidents.
I haven't,
Literally couldn't see.
correct.
After that intersection.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and study to see the accidents before. Numbers. But like I said, as far as the severity, need to be severe accidents out there on an annual basis. Don't remember the numbers. I can look those up and get them to you.
When you look at possible study, study, right now it's just a two-way stop.
Correct.
It's powered by solar because it's got some flashing.
Yep.
Three possibilities of four-way stop signs. Is that one possibility or no?
That would be a possibility. Additional signage could be a possibility. A stoplight, or roundabout.
Can I ask you, is a signal feasible all the way out there? I mean, what would that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's electric service out there, so that would be something that would be looked at.
Wonderful thing would be a roundabout out. That's a lot of farmland around there. You have to acquire space because there's a pretty narrow intersection.
Yeah, so there are some challenges. There's a drive and a house on the southwest corner that sits pretty close. But the rest is pretty open field. We probably have some right of way larger than our typical right of way out there because of the improvement project earlier. I would imagine we'd need more if that were the option that were final outcome.
How long do you anticipate that's going to take?
I believe it has to be completed by February of next year.
About the time you're finished building your roundabout, will let spring mill you start.
No comment.
What is the status of this?
We have called a stage 2 plan review currently. It is still moving forward. I think we're still on track for 26.
You gotta stay ahead of beyond. He hasn't done any yet. So, and there's not storing that through, but you know what ODOT's doing on 13 killing trees? I know Tony's interested in this.
I do
On
not.
13 south, they're doing it at night, so nobody can see it.
The strategy we might have been aware of many years ago.
Because it's got like half of their northbound lane is blocked. They had stuff down and all I see is woods flying, so I assume they're clearing trees.
Probably just their right of way maintenance at this point. Yeah.
Carl, or excuse me, Al, do you have any questions?
No, I'll be the good guy and keep it short.
Hey, you are the good guy, Al. Okay, we have someone has joined us back.
Contracts.
Dan Fletcher,
Woo!
Madison
Newly
Township.
elected Madison trustee. We are honored by his presence.
Since if I had any comment for you about my property taxes, I just paid.
Well, you know, the beauty of it is, I love saying this as an elected official, my finger points to the auditor and says you can have any conversations you want with them about your property tax.
I'm good. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I was in the neighborhood, wanted to come in and see what was going on, say hi.
Busy, man.
That's good. It's good to see you. Two Navy guys in the back row.
Maybe beat Army.
I don't think it worked that way last fall.
True.
Okay,
Used to be.
can we certify the record of proceedings for February the 6th?
I need to make a motion for amendment when we're talking about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library tape 0.03.10. where it says the first 6 months will be funded from the state program, it'll be funded from the Imagination Library, not the state. That's a 501(c)(3). That would be my amended motion.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
I think we can still fund that. Can we get approval for requisitions?
Second.
And approval of the, you
Bang.
got to vote for that. Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Hey, can we get approval for the weekly transfers request?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay, we have a request from the coroner's office to purchase a vehicle. And Tony, which vehicle did they choose or have you worked something out with it? I guess you guys only got, I've got,
They want the 2021, they are requesting, excuse me, they're not demanding or anything. They are requesting their 2021 Ford Explorer XLT.
Donley, right?
Yes, from Donnelly.
With a 10-speed automatic. I've never heard of a 10-speed automatic.
Shows you how my memory, they set money aside for that in their, did we move that to capital? I'm looking at their budget right now.
Capital
In capital, okay, yeah, I was looking at their,
budget.
trying to go through my notes to try to remember which.
Took it from their budget and put it.
Yep, put into capital. So to make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2021 Ford Explorer XLT, paid for out of our, Fund 100, which is our capital investments.
Second.
Some announcements.
Commissioner Banks,
yes.
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 Okay, and the child support to requesting permission to advertise an external job posting for one clerical worker. Posting will be listed on Indeed, Job and Family Ohio Means Jobs, and the Richland County website.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Carl, any questions?
No, sir.
Al, any questions?
I swear my fingers don't always want to work on this touch screen. Did you miss one, the CDBG thing, or did
Yeah,
you
we
take
have-
that out of the agenda?
Yeah, we have CDBG still.
Thanks for keeping us on track, Al.
Yes. Well, that's the grant from Jodica. Okay,
Yeah, it's just authorized advertising.
Sorry.
yeah, we authorized. CDBG PY 23. It's to see for training for justice-related individuals and reentry individuals and people addicted recovery. To get trained for jobs.
Banks,
Yes,
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
thank you, Al. Anybody, any questions?
I do have a couple other,
Okay.
others we like to jokingly call our new business. May extend, there's been a request from some broadband providers to the chamber, it's not us, to extend the broadband grant. So that's supposed to come down tomorrow, and I know the chamber is having some conversations with Broadband Ohio. But there have been some requests from some providers because it's a pretty comprehensive and extensive project to extend that. Haven't heard an answer yet from the chamber, but Carl, I may have something for you on that tomorrow. This is supposed to come down tomorrow. So please be aware of that.
Extended.
US 30.
Yeah. So it was from Brightspeed.
that request for information.
Yeah, the RFI through chamber. So Barrett And then also
I'm sorry, extending it to where?
extending the deadline to
Oh, the deadline.
respond.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you were expanding.
Yes, it was some interested providers. Also, next Tuesday, we'll be unveiling our State of the County video that is done. Pretty cool. We've already started talking about, the thoughts. This is something we wanted to do, every year, providing we have the funds. And the thoughts Andrew and I had were to rotate it, based on what was going on in the county. So, our thoughts next year were to bring in Denise Rule, who can talk about the clerk's office. Maybe the judges who can talk about, the courtroom project, maybe even the land bank, to talk about their new offices. Maybe even the county engineer to talk about what's going on with roads and bridges projects. Or maybe do you even do a separate video, although that's additional cost for the engineer himself, because residents like to hear about roads and bridges. So we're already Andrew and I already got the wheels churning for next year on that. And we're looking at a press release distribution. We even sought Mr. Hunnell's counsel, believe it or not, since he's in the media, how would be best. I saw Mayor Shag and Shelby did his state of the city. Obviously, there's only one mayor. There's 3 commissioners. No one wants to hear us talk for 45 minutes. So we thought a 4-minute video, which really highlights what we've done, is a much better way and people might enjoy that better. So we're gonna get that on the agenda for next Tuesday. And we'll probably show it for the one person, Carl, if he decides to come, and us. But then we'll press release it. So,
A copy of that be available?
yes, we're working on how we're gonna get that to you. Andrew's working on that. So excited. It's a cool video, highlights what's been going on in the county.
All good stuff.
Yep.
At 10:26, we will stand adjourned.